so somebody will catch it. Today we're going to focus on. So we all know that your database and reaching out to people that you know, like, and trust is going to that's the foundation. That's the bedrock of your real estate business. However, a lot of us want to specialize in something. So today we're going to talk about when you take your focus and turn it towards a specific thing, whether it's geographical farming, like a neighborhood or a zip code. It could be a specific type of real estate. Could be specific demographic of buyers, first-time home buyers, or what have you. So we're going to talk about taking our focus and narrowing it down to a specific segment of the market. So does anybody currently have a niche that they are, or a niche, I guess, depending on how fancy you want to get, that you serve or you're targeting right now? Taking that as a hard no. Amber, what's
No,
up?
I'm not, but I have done 5 death houses in the last or 6 death houses in the last 18 months.
That number keeps climbing. There's something going
Yeah,
on
I'm
there.
on my 6th one, but it's yeah, but it was like houses that are in probate or trust will, someone's died and there's like a family member now selling the property, whether it has gone through probate or whether or not it's gone directly to the descendant. So I don't think that that's my niche intentionally, but for whatever reason, it just happened in the last 18 months. So now I feel like I'm learning a lot.
Well, I mean, and that sometimes the niche finds you, right? Um, you get a referral, and the next thing you know, you get another referral, and then before you know it, you're known as the death house lady. In which I don't know if that's something that you,
I feel like there could be a better name, though. Maybe there's a better name. Although that's catchy. You're not going to forget it.
I'm sure AI could help you come up with a catchy name for it. But um, is that some sort of, is that a market that you enjoy working in or would want to tap into, or is that something that you just kind of deal with it when it comes to you?
I mean, the first couple of times it was like, oh, I should say the first time it really happened was like a few years ago. And then that one was a cluster. I mean, it was crazy. So I learned a lot off of that one. So then fast forward a couple of years now, in the, last 18 months, there's been 6 of them. And and each one I've been able to learn a little bit more. And it is really interesting. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I have sort of thought about it, but then I'm like, I don't, I haven't thought into it so much that I've looked into options either. So
Yeah. Um, well, let's do this really quick because we got 20 people or 16 on the call. Let's go through all of let's just brain dump it out there on what different niches are in real estate that agents could focus on if they wanted to. So Amber already hit kind of that probate, deceased style niche. What else you guys have?
Divorce.
Okay.
Investors,
Say that again.
investors,
Investors, yes. What else?
Did you hear divorce?
I did. Yeah, I got
Okay.
divorced.
All right, cool.
So Nicole has a German background. She says German community. Yeah, so like specific interest or heritage. What else?
Luxury.
Okay, that's a good one right there. Are you a luxury agent, Diana? Like by
In my dreams.
okay.
I have one like just every now and then.
Yeah. What constitutes luxury in like our market?
I think it's probably we had this whole conversation in our team not too long ago. It's like 750 to 800 and up because it's like, what is it? 2 times the average sales price in the area.
Yeah. I remember when our average sales price in Northern Kentucky was like 240 or $250,000, and they were calling a $500,000 house a luxury home.
Yeah.
How about first time home buyers? And then other niches that you could do. Does anybody know Susan and Arlen Rissover over in Cincinnati?
Mid-century modern. That's the. I
Yeah.
was going to actually say that, but I'm like, I don't think you could compete with them.
Well, not that you would want to compete, but just like it does highlight that there is a specific style of architecture that they niche in, and people go looking for houses like that. They don't care where it is; they just want that style of house, and then they'll see what they can come up with. So,
And they've built a really incredible website platform. I mean, it's like kind of nationally known too. I mean, they've worked on this a long time, and they definitely have become experts in it. So it is kind of cool to watch it for real.
yeah. Well, and then like speaking of architecture, you've got condominiums, you got landominiums, patio home style communities. That's kind of like a geographical farming, but it's also a style of real estate. You might even kind of plug in something in there that's no step living would be your niche. Like you could target homeowners who have ranch style and no step properties, and that could be your thing. Coming along with that would be like senior citizens, your elderly population, kind of serving that niche. I think there's a
There,
SRES
yes,
designation.
there's also there are I don't remember his name, but there is one that does that who specializes in that, and they also offer as part of their service like auctions. So he combines it. I wish I could remember that guy's name, but he combines it like, okay, you're downsizing, you're retiring, you're whatever it is, and then not only am I going to help you find your next place or get you moved into that assisted living, but I'm also going to help sell all your junk too.
Yeah. I'm sure he doesn't call it junk, but I mean, highly likely that that's what most of it is to most people.
Sorry, just
Um,
using a vague term. That was not
no,
no
no, it is
disrespect
like
for anyone's stuff, but someone's going to look at my stuff and they're like, why does she keep all that junk?
yeah. And that's like when my grandmother passed, my mom was like, I need to sell this stuff. I was like, nobody's paying money for that junk. So yes, I get it. Hmm.
There's also land and farms.
Yes.
True.
Or equine. There's people who specialize in horse stuff.
Yep. So let's break this down really quick. So let's kind of get into this. I'll tell you, 2025 National Association of Realtors uh, profile of home buyers and home sellers. The the percentage of home buyers in the market who were first time home buyers. Can anybody guess what percentage of the market was first time home buyers?
37.
42.
Anybody else?
25.
It was 21. Only like 1 out of 5 buyers was a first time home buyer. Where Amber, you and Nick were close to what it used to be. It used to be like 33 to 35% of home buyers were first timers. So, but they got something now called the silver tsunami. You guys heard about it? It kind of goes along with multi generational living and all that stuff, where the average repeat home buyer is 62. Okay. So when we're talking about a niche market, like doing some research on this stuff, if you're trying to get into a market where there's repeatable business and there's enough business to go around, what do they say? Does anybody know the statistic on how many Americans each year or each day are turning 65? Anybody know that stat?
A lot.
It's something like 12,000 to 15,000 Americans turn 65 each day. That's a stunning number right there. So
How many?
it's like 12 to 15,000 Americans per day. I thought like per month would sound normal, but that's a lot. A lot of boomers. Um, does anybody, Anna, you and I, we do a lot of senior stuff, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but what's it like when you're in the senior space? This silver tsunami, there's a ton of 65 and plus out there. Like, what's it like trying to target that demographic?
First things that people say to me when I approach them is like, I'm not moving. I'm not
Mhm.
selling. I'm going to stay where I am. So people don't understand that eventually they will have to move because there's always an incident. And the incident doesn't have to be a fall. It could be the death of a spouse. So then they're in this quite conundrum, I guess, if you'd say, trying to figure out what it is that they want to do. And so that's where I come in, and I just try to, show people and tell people what I can do for them to help them get from where they are to where they would like to go. Because sometimes people just want to move closer to their children, or it's not always going to an assisted living.
You remember that thing that I say it all the time that Mike Bowers said in one of our seminars. You remember what he said that I hold on to? When you're working with seniors, you're dealing with a group of people who need to move, but they don't want to move. So they're never going to approach you and say, "Oh, I need to talk to you about finding another place and putting my home on the market." They don't want to move. Now, they may have trouble with their house, their stairs, their living situation, quality of life, but they're never going to talk to you. So then what do you do? Like, you have this massive amount of business that's out there that people will eventually need to move from. They need to sell their house and move into assisted living or some place, or they need to sell their house and move into a place that they can age in place for the rest of their years. How do you get in touch with a group of people who do not want to move?
Their kids?
There you go. So but that creates a huge problem too. It's like, okay, I've got an adult who's 80 and their kids are 60. How do I find a list of 60-year-olds with elderly parents who might have mobility issues or might have some sort of thing where I can go in there and tell them all the things that they need to know on downsizing or moving? How do I motivate a group of people who are not motivated to move? So that's like that niche in itself, that is an issue. That's where it comes into a problem. So you have to find things like auctioning. Who said that with the auctioning things off? Was that Amber?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, like then you got to do things like you have to, like, what one of the things that our team does is we have a box truck and we offer to come do free item pickup and haul away for seniors. Like, you got a house full of stuff you don't need. The tricky part about that is seniors don't know that they have a bunch of junk in their house. It's just there and they think it has value, so they don't want to get rid of it. But their kids are the ones who are like, "Mom and Dad got to get rid of this stuff." So that's a tricky part about the senior demographic.
And Aaron, also a good way for us that we reach out to seniors is through education. And we host workshops, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a year based on different topics related to real estate. And we've been getting a good turnout.
Yep. And then the other thing that Anna and I are doing right now in the senior demographic is we're reaching out to people like Mike with Mobility Plus. We're reaching out to different assisted living facilities, and we're interviewing them in a kind of like a podcast style interview, but we're allowing them to market their business, and then we're putting it out there on YouTube and online, so that when the 60-year-old children of the aging adult start Googling things, like, I'm looking for a transportation service for my parents to get them to and from the grocery store or to the hair salon or whatever, they find our videos and start subscribing to our channel on other things that'll help seniors out. So it's tricky to break into that market. But let's pick a different niche and let's dive into it and see how would we promote ourselves in a different niche. We got first time buyers, we got different architecture. You guys pick something. Maybe it's something that you're trying to build or work on right now. About probate. Amber, you brought that up. If I wanted to break into the probate thing, I'm not just going to camp out in front of a funeral home. How am I going to build this business?
I do know someone who did attempt that. So they did a third party who would pull a ton of data from the probate courts and things, and then just cold call all that data, which is rough. I mean, it's rough because you're like dealing with, I mean, not only are you dealing with because now these people are going through probate. Maybe the parent or whoever it was didn't have all their ducks in a row. And you've got to, cold calling is hard enough. And now you're saying like, oh, I know somebody died. Let me help you sell the house. So that is one way to do it. I know he didn't have a ton of success with it, had a little bit, but it was also a lot of follow up too, because probate can take a long time. I mean, sometimes it can take 6 months. I know that that's one way he did it, and a little success, but not enough to justify what it was that he was doing. So, I mean, I don't, yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably, I'm sure there's an attorney who kind of specializes in that too. That could be another route. You get to network with some attorneys who specialize in wills, trusts, probate, that sort of thing. You can make some connections there, maybe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was about to say. I'm in a BNI networking group that has a probate attorney, and we've done about six over the past few years. They take a long time, and there's a lot that's involved when it comes to cleaning out the house, doing estate sales, stuff like that as well. But yeah, that's a good connection to have as a probate attorney. One that probably deals with divorce too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too that I'm gonna mention here. Like I'm looking down through our list. So we talked about probate, divorce. We talked about the senior stuff, right? So if we have like lifestyle changes, right? You got probate, divorce, an aging parent, something like that. A lot of times the customer themselves aren't going to be the ones that reach out to you. It's going to be your referral partner. Matt mentioned he's in a BNI group, but and Anna and I have talked about this. It's like a lot of times the senior or their kids aren't the ones that are going to reach out to us. It's going to be the people who are in the assisted living facility. So the placement people. Like if you go to assisted living facilities, there's a person there that does their marketing that tries to, encourage families to select their community. Well, who do you think is going to be the one that's asked the question, hey, do you have a real estate agent to help you with the sale of your home? And then that's where your referral is going to come. So Matt talking about, if you have a probate attorney, divorce attorney, tax attorney, bankruptcy, you know, that's a whole nother thing because you've got a BNI group. You guys are a captive audience asking for business. There's no question why people show up to a BNI group. It's to receive and give referrals. But how would somebody try to get in front of divorce, probate, or a tax attorney and try to get referrals from that if they're not in a BNI group?
Maybe like a chamber of commerce or some local networking group that you're not necessarily meeting in the same and there'll be multiple people there too. BNI, you've got one person represents each profession. So I mean, that's what I'm thinking is, or is there a convention center thing you can show up, make a lanyard for yourself?
I get
That'd
a
be
booth.
a pretty depressing convention, divorce and probate attorneys.
Hey, listen, they got to get their continuing ed too, right?
Let's all rent a real estate momentum booth at a divorce convention and go market our services there. No, so like where my head goes is okay, you've got a professional like an attorney, right? Probably probably very focused with their time. I mean, these guys are billing hours every 15 minutes. Like they're billing stuff, right? So they don't really necessarily want you to walk into their office and say, "Hey, my name's Aaron Smith and I'm a real estate agent and I'd like to see if I could help any of your divorcing or dead clients." Like that's not how you approach that. Especially if you're not in a networking group, one of the best ways to do this is to go through your database and find out who that is influential, somebody who's well connected, and then you reach out to them and say, "Hey, I'm looking to grow my business, and the niche that I want to work in is, uh, divorce or like estate sale, probate sale kind of stuff. Do you know any attorneys that I should know?" Right, and then, see if they can make some kind of warm connection. But you really have to know as a real estate agent before you ever talk to anybody about helping you grow your niche is what problem can you help that attorney solve? Like, why would they give you the time of day? Can anybody think how a real estate agent could help a divorce or a probate attorney in their job to get them to raise their eyebrows and listen to you? Nope.
Well, they're usually dividing up the assets, so offering up a CMA for the biggest asset probably in between the two or the family.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would just straight up ask them and say, hey, when real estate comes up in the conversation between you and your clients, how's that conversation usually go? Like, what's the topic about? Is it about, um, and most of the time it's about what's the value of the asset, right? What's it worth and how long is it going to take to offload it and sell it, right? So you can even go in with the next question that would be something like, hey, if you had somebody sitting in front of you and they're curious about what the house is worth, and you just kind of wanted a ballpark, would it be helpful if you could call, text, or email me before, during, or after that client is there, and I can run some comps and get them over to you within, say, an hour or less? You send me the address, I can run some comps and get them over to you. Would that help you in your conversation with the family on that piece of real estate? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe they already have an agent that does that for them, but you're just trying to find ways to get your foot in the door and add value to the person who's going to be referring you business. Fair enough? So that's kind of how we have to approach any of these situations is, what can I do to help you get the job done on your end? So if let's just say that you went to your local assisted living facility and you were meeting with their marketing director, and you're meeting with their marketing director and say, what's the conversation usually like? Who meets with you here with these families? Is it their kids? Do they bring mom and dad with them? Like, how's that usually go? And then just say, do you guys ever talk about the house that they're moving from? And how can I help your client make the decision easier to choose your facility? Is anybody working on first time homebuyer stuff? Because I got some good ideas for that if you wanted to try to get into that 21% of the market. Anybody? Nick, you got a lot of you're connected with a lot of first time homebuyers, actually.
Waltz is my niche.
Yeah. You're working with a lot of servers who are making tips and stuff. How would you guys try to get in front of first time homebuyers?
Social media is a big one.
Call all my friends and ask them if their kids are ready to buy a house because I'm at that age.
Yeah. You call people who are, 45 to 65 and say, hey, you ready to kick your kid out of the house yet? That's one way to do it. What else? So what stage of life are people when they are thinking about buying their first house? They're not in high school. Where are they at?
I'd say figuring out adulthood.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure out how to adult, right? They're
Yeah.
door dashing a milkshake for $18, or whatever they do.
Starbucks for 20.
Well, and the average age of the first time home buyer is so much older now than it was just 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's 37 now. And it used to be like 32 or 30.
Mm-hmm.
So think about the stages of life, right? Let's just say somebody comes out of high school, they either get a job or they go to a post-secondary education. They go to college or med school or, enroll in real estate school or whatever they do, right? Then, maybe they get a dog, maybe they're living with their parents, maybe they're renting and they don't want to rent anymore. But what if they were, I don't know, freshly engaged? Hey, when I get engaged, I might be thinking about moving out of my parents' house or moving out of this rental and actually moving in with the person I'm about to get married to. So if I'm in the engagement process and maybe buying a house is the next thought, who am I going to be talking to if I'm engaged?
Wedding
Anybody married?
planners.
Yeah, there you go. So wedding planners, wedding DJs, florists, cake baker makers, people who rent tables and chairs out, all that. So, if you know a wedding DJ, wedding photographer, somebody who makes wedding cakes, could you help them promote their business and leave them positive reviews on their Facebook and Google pages? And could you really help your first time buyer network find their wedding photography business? And then when they're sitting down, if you're a good wedding planner, you're actually sitting down with a couple asking questions, like deep questions, not just about who do you want to invite and what kind of, do you want Tim McGraw or do you want Bad Bunny at your wedding? It's like they're actually getting to know the people that they're serving, right? So, hey, where do you guys live? Oh, I live with my parents and I rent an apartment. Like, how soon are you guys going to be looking for a place after you move? Like, you guys going to move in together right away? You already live together. You're going to buy a house. And then that's where the referral opportunity comes in. You may get that. Not always, and not every person in the wedding industry is going to be willing to pull your business card out. But, if you do have a good connection in that industry, it could be a good opportunity for a niche. Other thoughts on that? Haley, you did a wedding show or a bridal show once, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I had some good attraction initially. The follow-ups meant I still follow up with some of the people, just drip on them slowly. I didn't have anything that came from it right away, but there were some people who were, there were lots of people who were looking to buy a house within that year.
Yeah. The other thing too, guys, so here's one thing, like Haley did a bridal show, she's got a booth, right? And the people who are coming up to the booth are the ones who are going to be buying the house. And that may be why you rent the table at the booth. You could do this at a senior health convention or whatever you're doing too. Any niche would work with this. But believe it or not, if I'm going to a bridal show to try to market to first time home buyers and people who are likely going to be buying a house very soon, I'm interested in talking to the end consumer, the the future husband or wife. That those are the ones who are going to be buying the house. But very importantly, I'm going from booth to booth to booth, talking to all the other vendors. Hey, who's your real estate agent? Who do you refer people to if your wedding client is looking to move? And asking really good questions about their business, like what makes you guys different than the other DJs, and what do you guys do? So it's not just about the people; it's about all the other vendors, like networking with the probate attorney or the divorce attorney, right? Cool. Switch it up. We got another 10 minutes here. Let's talk about geographical farming, because I feel like that is a niche that most people are likely to lean into more than most. Does anybody have a geographical farm that you nurture? I know Diana does.
There was somebody else on the call not that long ago who does her neighborhood, I thought, and does like is it an ice cream truck or something at the school, right? Was that Amy?
Diana.
Oh, is it Diana? Oh,
No,
okay.
Diana.
I know somebody.
Yeah, she's got her geographic farm pretty dialed in. What can you tell us about choosing a farm?
How long did it take you, Diana, to start getting business from your geographical farm?
Yeah. I think it was a combination of things because when I first started in it, obviously I just gotten my license. But at that time, my kids were much younger. They were in school, and you get to know parents. And that's the biggest thing is whether they're playing basketball or, whatever, you get to know the parents. And so many of them lived in our neighborhood. That's kind of where it started. And then from there, I did the postcards, knocked on doors. We've knocked on so many doors in my neighborhood so many times. And then, kind of expanded out to, we don't get on like my neighborhood Facebook page and market ourselves, but just commenting on different posts and providing, like if somebody's looking for a painter or whatever, just providing that information. But then doing the community events is really what has done it for us. Because that's where people remember you from and, that sort of thing. But you have to do a combination of all of them. You can't just send a bunch of postcards and expect that to be your farm. You're just going to waste a bunch of money. And you can't just send a just listed, just sold one time either. You have to, whatever you're doing, you have to be consistent. But I'd say it took, 5 or 6 years, honestly, before I really started getting repeat consistent business. But people sell every 5 or 6 years. And, and then if you're going to pick a farm, you want to look for somewhere. I mean, if your own neighborhood doesn't have a good turnover rate, if homes aren't selling there, you know, it's probably not a good place to farm. Pick a neighborhood nearby that's got a better turnover rate.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, because when it comes to geographical farming, a lot of people just look at their own neighborhood.
Yeah. And my
And
neighborhood used to turn over fairly often. It doesn't now. There's so many of us that have been there for 20 plus years now. Because when our neighborhood started or when I first moved there, so many people had young families, and so many of the people that I've gotten to know there over the years are still living there. So my neighborhood today would not be a good neighborhood to start a geographic farm, but one of the newer neighborhoods around it would be.
what would make a newer neighborhood more apt to be a good possibility versus an established one?
Well, when I say newer neighborhood, I don't mean one that's brand new where they're just now building in, but I mean one that's not like my neighborhood's over 30 years old now. And at some point it will be a good one because you'll have people my age selling and downsizing. We just haven't seen that yet. But another neighborhood that has younger families in it with younger kids, they're more likely to move up or move, I think, than someone who's, you know, been there for a while. At least
So,
that's been the case in my neighborhood.
for perspective, you mentioned that your neighborhood, you wouldn't choose your neighborhood today if you were just starting because of the turnover rate. What is your current, do you know your turnover rate right now in your neighborhood?
I haven't looked at that recently, but I think you want a turnover rate of about 6% or more. The last time I checked it, it was maybe 2%.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so if there's 400 houses in the neighborhood, you got 24 houses are selling a year or more. And
yeah,
you're trying to capture market share, so you want at least a third or half of that if you're going to be spending all the money and doing all the time stuff.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Questions on geographic farming before I do the last one on investors. Okay. Investors. Amy, you brought that one up, and that was one of my niches for a while until rates went crazy and investors really, retracted. I started a Facebook group back in 2016, 10 years ago, that was generated towards investors, and we started meetup groups, and we had, I did a decent amount of business out of that group, but there's challenges when you're working with investors too. Can you talk about that?
In the last few years have somehow connected with a few investors, and one of the agents that was on my team was very active in a website called Bigger Pockets, which to me is like Facebook for investors. And I started connecting with investors. What I have found, there are a lot of investors out there that own a lot of rental properties, and they're getting to that age where they don't want to mess with it anymore. What my challenge has been is they are also, if I can stereotype, the type of people that don't want to pay a commission. They want to get as much out of it as possible, and that's where I have struggled. And they're, usually the ones I've been working with are like 70 or more, and very set in their ways, and also don't understand the market. They just know they have a number in their head what they want to get. They don't want to make repairs. They think that that 30-year-old furnace is still working. It's fine. The roof. I just put that on 17 years ago. It's in good shape. That kind of thing. And that's what I've been running into.
Amy, do you
So
also find that they kind of hop around too? Are they like realtor hoppers? They go,
yes.
or okay, I was going to say, or have you found a way to kind of, key into that and keep them with you, even if they are a pain in the butt?
One I picked up last year. He was very loyal. And he had 30 properties he was gonna sell with me. After 7 properties, I was done. I had so much trouble with his property manager and trying to get information. And then he'd agree to sell it. And then right before closing, he'd send me an email and say, I shouldn't have sold it for this price. And I'd be like, oh my God, you're getting a good price. Um, and then he became very stubborn about, you know, one of the buyers was, I don't remember what type of financing they were getting, but the appraiser made him fix a broken window in the basement. He was all bent out of shape about it. I'm like, we've had this under contract for 6 weeks. Either fix the window or let the deal fall apart. And if you let the deal fall apart, I'm done. I mean, I got to the point where I was just so direct with him. And then after like the second one, he was like, well, I'm just going to pull it off the market. I'm like, look, I'm not spending my time and money marketing these properties for you to make a decision after it's been inspected that you're pulling it off the market. And that's where we parted ways. Then another investor found me online. Um, and he was basically asking me to run comps on all of his properties without signing a listing agreement. And I was just, I said, you know what? I'd love to help you. I'd love to sell some of your properties, but I don't work for free. So if you're interested in listing them, let's talk. And he did come to my office finally and meet me, and he listed a property that's under contract now for over $1 million. We'll see how it goes. But and he's got other ones to sell, but he's always trying to get me to do work for free. And I'm just kind of at the point in my career that I'm not doing the work for free. I'll be happy to help you. I'll do a good job for you. I'll market the property. Um, but I'm in business to make money too. And you get the value of, I've got years of experience with this. I know how investors work. I know what buyers are looking for in investment properties. So it's been an interesting journey. I guess um, I don't know if I have the patience for it some days.
Hey, Amy,
Honestly.
do you have in your listing agreement that if you cancel a listing agreement that they pay a fee to cover your marketing expenses?
No, but you know what? That is a great point. I
We
should be doing that.
had in our listing agreement about 2 or 3 years ago, if we'll happily cancel anyone's listing agreement. We don't want to work with anyone that doesn't want to work with us. But if they cancel it, they have to pay $1,000 to cover all of our pictures, marketing expenses, and everything. And since we've done that, we haven't had anyone cancel on us.
I think that's a great
And
idea.
we go through that in our listing presentation. When we go through the paperwork, we make sure they understand that that's in there. And they agree to that along with our transaction fee. So
Yeah, the one thing I found investors, they always say, well, I don't have to sell this. I'm
well, you
only going
don't
to
have to
sell it if
sell
I
it
get
for
this
them either.
price. Yeah,
There's
exactly.
plenty of other agents they can work with.
Yeah.
And
But
even
they
our
are a
investors.
the investors are a great source of repeat business. I mean, years ago I had investors that were buying, and anytime they were ready to look at something, they would call me. I have found more recently on the selling end, when they own multiple properties and they think you're making big bucks, these big commissions, and they're going to give you several listings, that they want a break on everything.
Oh, yeah.
And they're tough to work with. I mean, so it's been an interesting journey, I'll say it. And maybe somebody else has another perspective, but that's been my experience the last 2, 3 years.
Yeah, I can weigh in on the investor stuff because for a while that was my, when I was buying rental properties and doing a lot of fix and flips and stuff like that, that was one of my niches. And Amy, everything you said hit the nail right on the head. The loyalty can be low, and their expectations can be way off on what they think it's worth. With investors, I would say one of the most important things at the very beginning is figuring out, okay, if you don't have to sell, why did you call me? Or why are we talking right now if you don't have to sell? What are you going to do with the money? Is this thing costing you? Is it causing you not to sleep at night? Is it eating up your pocketbook and wallet? Why are we talking right now? Because whatever that is what you got to remind them about when they don't want to fix the window. Hey, you remember this thing?
Yep.
tenants calling you because the furnace isn't working and the toilet's leaking at midnight, and your tax bill just went up. Like, that's the reason that you have to fix that $200 window before we close tomorrow. Like, quit being an idiot kind of thing, right? They are black and white. It's about the numbers, and it's very little emotion unless they've been renting it and they have emotional connections with their tenants for 30 years that are in the building. Like, that can be a thing too. But one thing about investors is they'll tell on each other, so you can get referrals of other investors. It's very easy to get referrals out of them, and you can find landlords so easy because they put for rent signs in front of their property, and that's the best time to catch a landlord when they have a vacancy. Maybe they just had to kick somebody out because they were a knucklehead, or maybe they're losing money right now because it's not rented. And here's a good little script. If you're ever talking with a real estate investor and you want to find out where they are on the spectrum of buying, selling, or sitting still, whenever I talk to an investor over the phone or in person, I just say, hey, look, we run across properties from time to time, and I'm just curious. I find that in real estate investors fit into one of three categories. They're either looking for deals, they're looking to sell for top dollar, or they're just maintaining their portfolio right now. Which one of the buckets do you fall into? And if they're like, I'm looking for deals right now, be like, awesome. If I found a deal, what would that look like to you? And, you go out there and tell people you got buyers looking for rental properties or flips or whatever, and you got a potential client there. But investors do come. I mean, every niche, every client comes with their own set of ups and downs clients. So, guys, it is 10:43 on a Monday. You got the whole week laid out in front of you. We got some good weather coming. Go out there and crush it. Stay tuned. Early March, like that's March 11th. We're going to kick off something with a little bit more specific tracking and business building for you guys. And if you're curious, let's do this. If you're looking for a little bit of accountability, a little push, a little boost, shoot me a private message, Instagram, Facebook, text, or email, whatever. If you're looking for a little something extra, shoot me a message, and I'll kind of talk to you privately about it before I announce it. But it's going to be good. It's going to be very specific on production and productivity. So go out there and crush it this week, guys. We'll see you next Monday at 10. Adios.
Thanks, Aaron.